Hello, the Grognard DM here again. Another ramble on thoughts on gaming and whatnot. This is something that does come up in gaming situations, and what I'm going to say probably doesn't sound exactly like it's gaming related, but we do need to think about these things, and especially as dungeon masters, address them. Um, it is true that sometimes players can cause trouble at the table, and there's just about every game master, dungeon master guide that I've ever read has a little section on dealing with troublesome players. Sometimes, though, we have to bear in mind that the troublesome behavior may not be the result of bad etiquette, bad acting, as in being a bad actor, not as in giving a performance. Um, or any of the other things that was just simply rude behavior. We have to embrace a truth, and that truth is many of us utilize gaming as a form of therapy. Life's issues are throwing so much at us personally at one point, and we don't have a clear vision as to what the path forward is, what the best way to handle these problems are, or whatever. Gaming is a welcome relief because the problems thrown at you by the DM are theoretically problems that your characters as a group have the resources and capabilities of solving and overcoming. So when life seems insoluble, we like to turn to gaming because everything there has a solution. And it's usually going to be fairly straight, even if it's just simply kick in the door and kill the monsters. it's it's something that we are able to control. We have that gives us that sense of control that we need when everything else in life seems to be spiraling out of control, and because beyond our ability to control. Some people, let's be honest, I think anybody that disagrees with this statement is a liar or is so darn young they haven't experienced real life yet. Sometimes life is soul crushing. Um, whether you're talking about, as I've experienced in the past year, I lost my second parent, and I lost my first one over 20 years ago. Even the first one, that was a horrible blow to me. Losing my last one, thank goodness I'm of a certain age, and so technically speaking, the word orphan doesn't really apply to me because I'm not a child, for one thing. But there is still that feeling of I'm an orphan. That's bad. Having a spouse die on you, that's pretty soul crushing as well. And again, speaking from personal experience, the first time if you've never experienced divorce and you are like 80 years old and been married to one person, God love you, God bless you, and you've had a life that turned out better than certainly mine did, and just about all of I can count on one hand the number of people who have been married to one person my age. Number of people my age that have been married to one person. My first divorce was pretty bad, and the point is that sometimes the blows that somebody experiences from life are so bad that it's really hard for them to keep it out of gaming. After that first divorce, my friends kind of rolled their eyes. Oh yeah, another dark Batman-like character. Dad just was getting it out of his system. I'm glad they understood that, but sometimes it's hard to check it at the door. And as fellow gamers, we need to bear that in mind. Sometimes it can't just be checked at the door. Don't ever judge someone else's sorrow, grief, whatever, by your own standards. Some things don't bother people, but those same things bother some. We all have our Achilles heels. We all have our weaknesses, things that get into the chinks of our armor of self-esteem or confidence or whatever and hit us right at the most basic level. And it's hard to overcome that. So as a DM, just like when I was teaching, sometimes you need to know, because if one person's a misery at the table, I'll tell you right now, it's going to impact everyone else's play. So you kind of need to sit there and say, okay, guys, I know we got together today to play a game, but I think Joe over here needs some friends to talk to. If we've got time afterwards, we can play the game, but let's let him unburden himself. And theoretically speaking, I mean, obviously there are exceptions like gaming at a game store with a brand new group, gaming at home with a brand new group, going to a convention. Not everybody at the table is at friends, but I'm assuming that, fairly well-established group. People have been gaming with each other for years, and outside of the game, they are friends. The bonds of friendship kind of demand you be a crying towel. And like I say, if the person can have a cathartic experience and just unburden, cry, sob, moan, whine, whatever, to get enough out of his or her system to be able to play the game, well, that's what friends are for, isn't it? To those who are in the grip of such sorrow, I would also, I always say, never be afraid to ask for a helping hand. Most people interpret that as getting professional help, and professional help is, usually advisable. I will say this too. I'm in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area. I don't know the rest of the country, but I know a lot of therapists in this town that have what they call a sliding scale based on economic need. Are basically barely making it on your own. They're not going to charge you much, if anything. They may even say, well, when you have a little extra, send me something, but the important thing is to help you. So don't be afraid to investigate that at least. But let's say you live in an area where there isn't that kind of consideration. If you can't get professional help, get the help of friends. Be willing to show up at the games like, guys, I'm sorry. I was hoping that I could function for the game and use it as therapy, but I'm just so crushed right now. I need to talk, or I need to do something. It's just going to bleed through into the game. The reason why I say that is also you don't want the game to suddenly become about your character. Remember what I've said before. It's a collaborative thing. Everybody is a part of the fantasy reality we're creating together. So if you try to make it all about you or all about your character, really about you, but it's bleeding through and into your character, you're doing two things. First of all, Game Master is trying to move the game along to play the adventure that was planned for that night. Other players are trying to move the game along because they want to go on an adventure of some kind, whatever the game master, dungeon master has gotten planned for that evening. So you're doing yourself a double disservice as a person. First of all, you're becoming that guy or that gal that some gaming groups get, that as far as they're concerned, it's a movie in the head and there's one starring actor and it's my character. All the others are just support cast. No player likes to have that done to them or their characters. Second of all, you're going to lose some of the sympathy of your friends. It's a much different emotional and psychological place that your friends are going to come from if you are able to be honest with yourself and say, guys, I'm sorry. If it's not that important to you, I'll get my stuff and go home, but I can't play tonight. I really can't. I'm not in a place where I can focus on a character. I've got, if they already know what's going on, you're like, what's going on in my life, and I got to talk to somebody about it. Most everybody will put their dice, character sheets, and books to one side. Talk to us, because they're friends. If they don't, maybe you need to find some new friends. The cry for help in any decent person is going to be responded to. And besides, if you're able to really have a cathartic moment, it's not going to be the entire night. Maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour at most. For you to talk, cry, scream, yell, whatever you need to get what's bothering you out. And I won't challenge anyone to actually time this, but I would bet that those same time intervals in an average game session, at least with our group, is spent in BSing and making bad jokes and other things that are not directly involved with the game we're there to play, the adventure that we're playing. So it's really not taking that much time out of the game, all told. So players, if you're in the middle of a problem like that is so severe it's impacting your ability to just kind of check it at the door, don't be afraid to ask for help. These are your friends. Players, Dungeon Master, be kind. Be perceptive. And if somebody is obviously, especially if you know what he or she is dealing with, be a little perceptive. And if they're obviously having an off night, just kind of say, can we pause the game for a moment? What's wrong? Talk to us. Get it out. And if you don't know what's going on, because player A is very private individual and tends not to, I'm guilty in this area. Not just as a player, as an actor. When that first divorce was happening, I was in the middle of the show and nobody knew anything was going on. But, if they're obviously having an off night and you don't know what's going on, then it's, okay, let's pause this. What's going on? Tell us, talk to us, we're your friends. You're not yourself right now. What's going on? And I don't guarantee anything in life unless I know I can personally deliver on it, but I virtually will guarantee that at the end of it, the bond of friendship is going to deepen on all sides. And with that deepening bond of friendship, you all have your own phone, each other's phone numbers. As you're communicating, coordinating game days, you become that person that when someone's having a problem, calling up saying, hey, do you have a moment to talk? Because I got something going on. Likewise, when you have some problems, you've got a bunch of people that you can call and say, I got something going on. Do you have a moment to talk? And that's arguably better than paying for professional help. We friends were free. And, maybe they may not have the best advice in the world, but it's better than feeling like you're dealing with it on your own. What does they say? A burden shared is a burden halved. So, and DMs, you're made of the same clay the rest of us are. You can either, if you're the one dealing with the issues, you can be the one to say, reach out to everybody else and say, look, I know I'm supposed to run tonight. This is what's going on in my life. I could use some people to talk to. Do we have to get together to play? And being your friends, they'll probably say, sure, come on over, let's talk. Tell us what's going on, and we'll talk this out. And then go ahead and bring your books anyway, because like I say, it may only take an hour. But, I'm unusual. I'm one of those people that I can deal with my own things on my own terms. I still may be a little off, but I've very seldom spiraled the drain. Part of that is I'm a natural optimist. I have sometimes the dark side of that, and it can be really bleak, really grim, and I'm the one saying, well, it could be worse, and come up with a worst case scenario. But because it's kind of the inverse of optimism at that point, but I'm able to come up with that because I also know what's happening right now, it will get better. It may take years, it may take months, it may take a few hours. I don't know, but it will get better. And that's why I'm very seldom ever truly clinically depressed, because even at my lowest lows, there's that little voice inside my head, oh, it'll get better. Just ride this through. It'll be better. And it always is. I think my longest depression ever, but self-imposed depression, was 3 days. I bounced back out. That first divorce knocked me for a loop, though, and I was depressed enough that I wasn't eating for a month. Thankfully, I had friends that force-fed me. But I did lose some weight. I don't recommend it as a diet plan, though. But we got to remember that as gamers, we're getting together with friends to have fun. Nobody is so important that they can spoil that fun. But because we're getting together with friends, don't be afraid to reach out and say, I need help. I need to talk something out. And as friends, we should all be willing to press the pause button and say, talk it out. What do you need? So, and I know there are probably some therapists that are thinking in terms of they need more than that. And some cases, yes, possibly they do. But none of us in my group, at any rate, are trained therapists. I know there are groups that do have, but they're not in my group. And they're probably not in a majority of groups that would be watching this video. And the whole point is, if the therapist isn't in the group, the therapist isn't there at the table at the time somebody needs to talk things out. And I think every therapist would agree that being able to talk things out with a sympathetic ear is a good first step. After all, that's what most therapists do. The only thing we are not doing that a therapist would do is offer coping mechanisms and analytical advice. But at least we're therapists, no offense to you, we're at least giving them the outlet. The sympathetic ear is not going to judge them. And surely that's important. So that's the basis of this video. I was kind of contemplating this for the past week or so. And like I say, it's not directly related to gaming as far as playing the game itself, whatever that game may be, but it is related to the gaming lifestyle. We are a bunch of friends getting together to have some fun, but life happens, and sometimes one of our friends is dealt a blow they're having difficulty coping with. And so, as friends, we should be willing to suspend the fun for a little while to let our ears get bent. So, ties of friendship should be paramount over any game, in my opinion. So, at any rate, that's pretty much my completely exhausted my thoughts since I'm beginning to repeat myself. If you have any questions or desire for another discussion on some other topic, please drop them in the comments or reach out to me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and let me know what you'd like me to yak on about. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down below. And until the next time I chat, may all your hits be crits.